13,500 people have died so far. Hospitals are struggling with shortages of ICU beds and doctors. Zimbabwe's government, in other news, promising an investigation into the alleged abduction of 3 opposition activists. The women say they were beaten and sexually assaulted by state security. The police deny any involvement. Okay, we'll go back to the coronavirus shortly for you. In the meantime, we will wrap up another top story. Libya's internationally recognized government says it's launched airstrikes on a key airbase controlled by the warlord Khalifa Haftar. Meanwhile, on Saturday, shelling by forces loyal to Haftar killed at least 7 people in the south of Tripoli. The attack targeted a university dormitory used by internationally displaced people in Al-Farnaj district. An ambulance was also hit by shrapnel as medics were treating the injured. Mahmoud Abdul Wahed joins us live from Tripoli. Mahmoud, just take us through what happened here.
Well, Peter, the human suffering is still exacerbating, and as you just mentioned, 7 innocent civilians, including one 5-year-old child, were killed last night in a shelter used to accommodate internally displaced people. 17 other civilians were wounded by random rockets launched by forces loyal to the warlord Khalifa Haftar. And eyewitnesses there tell us that almost many parts of the building were set on fire, and one ambulance was hit by shrapnel. Also in Al-Watia air base, about 150 kilometers southwest of the capital, Tripoli, the government forces say that their air force destroyed 2 Russian-made Penister air defense system units that were provided to Haftar's forces by the United Arab Emirates. Meanwhile, the government says that its air force destroyed a number of military vehicles and killed a number of pro-Haftar fighters and destroyed an arms bunker or arms depot inside Al-Watia air base. In southern Tripoli, the confrontation axes remain relatively calm compared to the past few days, but it does not mean that it might stay like this for long. As you know, that the fighting could renew at any moment. Meanwhile, we have been hearing international condemnation to the attack on Tripoli by Haftar's forces, and recently from the United States ambassador to Libya, Richard Norland, and also the Secretary General of the NATO, that stated that they're dealing with a legitimate government in Libya, which is the Sarraj government, the government of national accord. And meanwhile, the defense ministry here in Tripoli, the Tripoli-based defense ministry, stated that it's dealing, the military cooperation between the government and Turkey is based on legal standing, as the government is the legitimate government representing Libya, is also dealing with a legitimate government representing Turkey.
Mahmoud, thank you. The Syrian government and armed group Hayat Tahrir al-Sham have conducted a prisoner exchange in Aleppo. The government released 4 fighters from the group, while the rebels freed a colonel and soldier from the Syrian army. There have been several prisoner swaps in Aleppo over the past 18 months. A major border crossing between Pakistan and Afghanistan has reopened after 2 months, allowing people from both countries to return. The Torkham crossing was closed to prevent the spread of coronavirus. Many people have been waiting there for the past week. Travelers had their temperatures checked as they crossed over on foot.
About 3 months ago, when the Torkham border was closed due to the coronavirus outbreak, we were stranded in Punjab, Pakistan. We faced many problems there. We couldn't work during this time.
I've been stranded in Pakistan for more than 2 months. I was in Multan. It took me 6 days to reach the border crossing due to bad traffic. For more than a week, many Afghan citizens, including women, have been waiting at this border to enter Afghanistan. They are in a bad condition.
Throughout the COVID-19 pandemic, older adults and people with underlying medical conditions have been particularly at risk. Now, that includes those whose immune system is compromised, which means it's harder for the body to fight off infections or other illnesses as well. And people are more prone to get sick if they have this condition. This usually includes people receiving cancer treatments, long-term dialysis for kidney failure, or those who need bone marrow or organ transplants. And as countries lift restrictions, the US Centers for Disease Control is advising those with that condition to continue with strict social distancing guidelines. Joining us now is Sindivisi Van Zyl in Johannesburg. She is a medical doctor who deals mostly with HIV/AIDS patients. Dr. Van Zyl, welcome to the News Hour. Explain to me day to day, hour to hour, meeting people to meeting people, what it's like if your immune system is either compromised or non-existent.
Thank you so much for having me on the show. So we do know that people whose immune systems are compromised are at a higher risk of contracting COVID-19 and also will suffer more severe symptoms if they got COVID-19. HIV is different in the sense that if you are infected with HIV and you start taking antiretroviral treatment and you're taking it properly and the virus is under control, then we don't expect you to be at that risk. And I say this because I live in a country with the highest number of people living with HIV, and we have over 4 million people on treatment. So we expect people on treatment whose viral loads are undetectable not to be too concerned. And what we don't want is for people that are living with HIV to be and having a suppressed viral load to panic. And you can imagine if everyone that was living with HIV started panicking, it would really burden the health system. So, a lot of my messaging right now during COVID-19 with regards to HIV is to stress that if you are in treatment and you are taking treatment properly and your virus is undetectable, then you shouldn't need to worry. If you are not on treatment or you used to be on treatment and you stopped it, I encourage you to start treatment and get your viral load down as soon as possible.
Just to be clear, if somebody's immune system is compromised already because they are HIV positive, how much of an immune system do they have when it comes to encountering something as capricious and as vicious as coronavirus?
Well, it's difficult to say because remember, COVID-19 is a new disease, so we're learning as we go along. At the moment, we don't have much data regarding the interaction or the relationship between COVID-19 and HIV. But what we understand is that if you are immunocompromised and you happen to have HIV, but you're on treatment, then your immune system is just as strong as everybody else's, right? If you are HIV positive and not on treatment, then obviously you're more prone to opportunistic infections, and we can expect a respiratory illness like COVID-19 to affect you quite severely. So the message really is clear that if you are HIV positive and you know your status and you're not on treatment, we want you to get on treatment as soon as possible.
And is there a cross-fertilization here and lessons to be learned when it comes to people who are HIV positive, who know their immune system is compromised, and maybe there are lessons to be handed over to other countries, to other locations, to other health services, so you can tell people, say, who are not HIV positive, but they have had chemotherapy for cancer, so you can take those lessons and translate them to another location, someplace where the infection that will become COVID-19 is really getting a foothold?
Well, the lessons that people can learn from South Africa and the way that we've handled our HIV pandemic, it's really about communication. I think we've done a great job to make sure that people know what HIV is. They know what needs to be done to make sure that their immune systems, get sorted out by taking medication. So clear communication is important. I think knowledge helps people to make the right decisions. We need to stay away from fear mongering because we do see a lot of that. So whenever there's a news report around which conditions make you more prone to COVID-19 infection, you need to be very clear about what you're communicating to people. Don't incite fear in them. They can understand that, okay, you may have cancer, your immune system is compromised. Do the following to make sure that you stay healthy. So basic precautions that everybody's taking. So we know that social distancing is important. We know that it's important to wear a face mask when you go out into the public. We know that it's important to do hand washing and to use hand sanitizer. So those are universal precautions that we know work for everybody. So the way we give out the message helps people make the right decisions about their health, and that's really what I'm trying to do when I communicate about COVID-19 and HIV.
Dr. Van Zyl, great to talk to you. Thank you so much for joining us here on the News Hour.
Thank you so much.
Now, for many of the 3.7 million students graduating high school in the US, it's not the celebration that they had been hoping for. Here's Alan Fisher.